We could have won a national championship last year if we would have let Marvin Harrison play, but he had a bad hit. That's oversight. That's from Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith. And it's been a rough run here for Ohio State with this Georgia game, and they cannot let that go. That was before Ohio State's big win over Notre Dame, where then Ryan Day goes after Lou Holtz, probably with good reason, to be honest with you. But it's just like, in the grand scheme of things, what he was trying to say is, we have oversight over medical and how we handle our players and how we do things. He's trying to get a hold of the NIL message, the NIL legislation at the federal level, which is just not going to happen. Just a person who's been around the block for a while, they're not going to get anything done. If they were going to get something done, it would be well along the way doing that now, and they're not. But man, you cannot let Ohio State, Georgia, that win. Marvin Harrison is really good. He is really good. They lost that game. Marvin Harrison played in that game. When Marvin Harrison went out, that was one of Ohio State's best players that did not play in that game. Nolan Smith didn't play in any of that game for Georgia. Didn't happen. That didn't cost Georgia a national championship. Some of this stuff, people got to kind of move on. And, Georgia folks with the Tyler Simmons thing, that was funny but after a while, it's just man, that was all these things are one play. All these things are one play. And for Ohio State to be this bothered by it, now we are 9 full months since that game. I mean, does Marvin Harrison play defense? Is he calling plays on the last drive? Is he kicking field goals? Is he holding field goals? The answer to all those is no. So as important as Marvin Harrison is and was and all that stuff, Marvin Harrison played against Notre Dame the other day, and Ohio State barely won that game. Marvin Harrison played against Michigan a year ago when Michigan throttled Ohio State. Marvin Harrison played, I think, against Penn State when Ohio State won. No, we gotta kind of stop doing this whole thing. But once you feel once something's started, it never seems to stop. And Georgia does this a little bit. But this is a whole nother level, it feels like to me. And watching Ryan Day go off on Lou Holtz, first of all, that was hilarious. But because Ryan Day, that's different than this. I mean, Ryan Day is basically saying, who is the old man chirping from, the cheap seats? Oh, it's Lou Holtz over there. And he's saying we're not tough. Answer that question. I wouldn't have said that if I were Lou Holtz. Damn, Ohio State. Go watch them play. You want to say they're not physical? I don't know about that part. Or they're not physical enough. They're not as physical as Georgia. They're not as physical as Alabama. They're not as physical as Clemson. They're not as they beat the crap out of Clemson the last time they played Clemson. They narrowly lost to Georgia. They just lost the games. It's not like there's some thing hovering over them. Ohio State should win a national championship with Ryan Day. That should happen. I think Ryan Day cost them that game as much as Marvin Harrison going out did. And keep in mind, Marvin Harrison made an impact at the beginning of the game, but the second half, certainly the fourth quarter after Harrison was gone, but Georgia totally just dominated Ohio State. Certainly in the fourth quarter, they just did. So it wasn't about Marvin Harrison, and it just, to some degree, to me, in my opinion, you're giving your haters, if you want to call it that, you're giving your haters ammunition for pointing at you and laughing at you all the time when you keep bringing this up. But I don't know. He has done a really good job as an athletic director up there. He has been one of the best athletic directors over time. He's retiring. Good for him trying to get this NIL thing squared away, because it is problematic, I guess you could say. But right now, I don't see anything coming close to being resolved on that front. You're trying to get a split Congress to pass legislation in about to be an election year. It's just not going to happen, and then you don't know what would be next after that. So I am skeptical of that. What I'm not skeptical of is the quality of our friends at EcoPoly. I've been using these chairs now for some time. We've moved them around in the yard a little bit, so that we can enjoy what we're looking at a little bit more than the driveway. But it's always fun. East Athens right now is a very quiet, not very hot. It's good to be outside right now. We probably have 60 days left of this, maybe. Is that too long? That might be too long. We've got 45 days left of this. Now, if you're in Ohio and you're watching this and you're seeing the EcoPoly, nah, man, you're in trouble soon. But the quality of this is outstanding. It's made in the heart of Georgia. One thing that Ohio was known for a long, long time was manufacturing. Well, welcome to manufacturing done in the Peach State, done in the heart of Georgia in Dodge. These are outstanding Adirondack chairs with this little, this is where you can put, if you are like me, you'd put a laptop right here. You could certainly eat right here, have a drink right here, whatever you want that makes you comfortable. We really appreciate EcoPoly, and honestly, the products are outstanding. Everything is made in shop except the screws. 20-year warranty, UV inhibitor, great product. And that win for Ohio State over the weekend gives them an opportunity to go win that elusive national championship. They've not won a national championship in 10 years. That's a long time, man, for a program as good as Ohio State's been that whole time. They've been so good that whole time, and they have not won the national championship. They came a game and a play away from it last year. They were blown out by Alabama in 2020. They lost on essentially the last play of the game in 2019. It's been tough, man. When you're sort of that good and you don't win it all, it's challenging. Now they've got a reputation of, I think Lou Holtz is kind of hard to take seriously, first of all. But he's dead wrong about the physicality of Ohio State. You just have to look on the field and see. But that game was one of the most epic games I've ever been at. And somebody lost, and it was Ohio State. And, I get it bothering you still. But that didn't just, Marvin Harrison playing the rest of the game does not necessarily win you the national championship. And that's not the, Gene Smith's been around athletics long enough. That's kind of coming from the cheap seats there. Georgia came back on Ohio State. That has nothing to do with Marvin Harrison. People will say, well, what if they keep scoring? They didn't keep scoring. Even with Marvin in the game, they weren't scoring a bunch. Not at that point. So, go back and rewatch the game. It's okay. You can have your narrative, but it doesn't mean it's right. And it's also something we'll never know. So to be so definitive that Marvin Harrison sticks in that game, they win it. No, that's not that's not how it works. And to getting back to the George Pickens did not play in 2021 for Georgia. Basically, he played the Georgia Tech game. And then they in the playoff. He was Georgia's best receiver. Marvin Harrison's a really good receiver. He's probably better than George Pickens. George Pickens is a killer. Georgia was out without him the whole year. Nolan Smith was a top 15 draft pick. Georgia navigated from the Florida game on without one of their best players on the team. Ohio State couldn't survive a half. Now, what's that tell you about Ohio State? Is that too harsh? I think we got to get away from the hyperbolic statements, the definitive, this, that, or the other. I don't know what would have happened in that game if Marvin Harrison continues to play. I don't think it stops Georgia from coming back to win necessarily. It may make their path to win more difficult, but what if Brock Bowers doesn't become Superman or Spider-Man on the sideline? I mean, all I know is after dog instruction came double dogs. And that happened because Georgia won that game. Period.